Despite this, insurance companies were refusing to accept indemnity. I raised this specific case with FBD policy on the floor of the Dáil in March of last year, again in April, and indeed have raised this issue many times since. The same thing, as we know, was happening in Britain with insurance firms there. The regulator there, the Financial Conduct Authority, they took action. The FCA reached out to businesses and gathered a sample of 21 different types of insurance policy that form part of the FCA's court action in the courts, and it ensured a binding result for many businesses as possible. They did this in the public interest, and they did this to enhance the consumer protection mandate that it had. Last month, they won their case. The decision is legally binding now on 8 insurers in Britain as a result, and thousands of businesses will receive payouts, a financial lifeline for so many of them that are struggling at this time. And I previously called on the central bank to intervene in a similar manner back in March of last year, back in April, and I've called on your government to support that call. But the central bank took no action, and your government took no action at that time. And that is why the 4 pubs were forced to defend themselves in the courts. And last week, thankfully, the High Court ruled in their favour and against FBD and judged that these businesses were covered for business interruption as a result of COVID-19. And now they will receive compensation, which they were entitled to all along. The judgment could affect up to 1,300 other businesses who hold similar policies with FBD. But Taoiseach, there are thousands more other businesses who have similar but not identical policies with other insurers. We know the industry is still trying to wriggle out from paying these valid claims. As the CEO of the Restaurants Association has made clear, insurance companies are still dragging their heels and refusing to pay even interim payments to businesses, including AIG, Aviva, Allianz, RSA and QBE, and it needs to stop. So, Taoiseach, there's 2 options here. Either the central bank intervene, as I've been calling for as far back as March, or there is going to be a wave of litigation at a cost that is too much for many small businesses. Since March last year, I've been calling for the central bank to intervene. Business interruption risks becoming the tracker mortgage scandal of the insurance industry. I've written to the Governor of the Central Bank and to yourself, Taoiseach, again last week, requesting that the Central Bank undertake an examination like the tracker mortgage examination. What does this mean? It means an audit of all business insurance policies, business interruption insurance policies. It means undertaking intrusive supervision of claims handling. It means handling claims speedily and with the enforcement of a strict sanction regime. That is what business needs. The central bank always had this power, always had this role, but it refused to use it. So, Taoiseach, will you support my request for the central bank to stand up for small businesses and undertake an examination into business interruption insurance across the insurance industry?
Yeah, thanks very much, Deputy. The decision of the High Court last week is very significant. The High Court ruled in favour of 4 pubs which had business interruption insurance policies with FBD and ruled in their favour. There is yet to be a decision on the quantum, and that will be adjudicated in the courts later this month. So this case is still active in that sense, and I think we need to bear that in mind. And it could have implications for other small businesses and other companies that had similar policies with this insurer or others. And it's important that we all examine the implications of this judgment. In relation to the role of the central bank, you know that the central bank is an independent regulator. It operates independent of government. It does not take direction from government. So over the course of the past few months and even the past year, you've called on the government to intervene to direct the central bank to do something. You don't say those kind of things because you're stupid. You're not a stupid man. You say those things because you hope other people are stupid and you believe that they may think that the government has this power of intervention. It doesn't. The central bank is independent. It's an independent regulator, and it has to decide for itself whether it's going to intervene or get involved in this particular matter. I know the central bank is aware of this issue. I know they're examining it, but they will make a determination, as an independent central bank should, independently, and they're not subject to any direction from government. And any calls that you make to government to somehow intervene or direct the central bank to do something is totally disingenuous. And it's an attempt by you to mislead people in small business, to pretend that you're on their side, when you know full well the central bank is independent and government can't direct them to do these things?
Corley, that is a shocking response. Not just from you, Taoiseach, but you are the Minister with responsibility for enterprise. You talk about me trying to mislead businesses that I'm on their side. I've met with the central bank privately. I've discussed with them the need to have an tracker mortgage examination into this issue. I've provided them documentation in relation to how insurance companies are wriggling out of policies. They've asked for that documentation. There is nothing preventing us as member of the Oireachtas, or indeed you as Minister, for sharing the same type of information and supporting my request. The central bank will make their own decision, but don't you wriggle out of the situation. The reality is, Taoiseach, you led the government last year. I put this case to you. You washed your hands of it. You did nothing, absolutely nothing. And there is companies now. Let me give you an example. A local hairdresser in Donegal has a policy with QBE. This is the policy, this is the terms. She is covered for interruption or interference of the business in consequence of the following events: an occurrence of a notifiable disease within a radius of 25 miles of the premises. That policy is covered. But that local business who employs a number of people in a local community does not have the resources to fight this through the courts. That is why we, in this House, need to make a united call for the central bank now to intervene, as has happened across the water, to ensure that its consumer protection role that has been gifted to it by these House of the Oireachtas is enacted. And I would appreciate you, instead of criticising me and what I'm trying to do on behalf of these businesses, maybe you make a stand on behalf of these businesses and support me in my call. And I've written to you, as you've requested me to do, what needs to be done.
Thanks, Deputy. The situation is, and you know this full well, the government cannot interfere in court cases, full stop. And your attempts to call on government to interfere in court cases is totally disingenuous. Nor can the government direct the central bank. Nor can... Deputy, the only reason why you need to shout me down every time I answer is because you don't want people to hear the truth. That's the only reason why you have to try to shout me down every time I try to answer. You know full well that the government can't interfere in court cases. You know full well that the government can't direct an independent regulator like the central bank. But the central bank is aware of the issue, has been appraised of the issue, was appraised of it long before you did anything about it. And they are examining the situation, and it will be up to them to decide on the appropriate course of action. In the meantime, the case has happened. It was an important test case. I pay tribute to those who took that case. I think it's good that FBD said that they would cover the costs, whatever the outcome. But I do pay tribute to them for taking that case. And we now have case law. We now have case law that says that cases like this are argued and adjudicated in favour of the clients. We will now see in the next few weeks, and this case is still active, we will now see in the next few weeks what the quantum is and what the implications are for other businesses.